Welcome back, everybody, to Brutally Honest Reviews, only on the Brutally Honest Network. Today, we're reviewing one of my most hyped movies of 2018. And, sorry, I can't stop right there.
Ooh, got the hiccups.
So, one of my favorite upcoming movies of 2018, Widows. And Widows is a action thriller by Steve McQueen, not the actor. There's a black Steve McQueen, who's a great director, and there's a white Steve McQueen, who's a very good actor, who I think is still alive, but very old at this point.
If he is alive, he's ancient.
Yeah.
Probably dead.
Well, surprisingly, Clint Eastwood's alive still.
And acting.
Because he doesn't deserve to die.
And acting.
That movie looks good.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called.
I love how in the trailer he just does the Clint Eastwood snarl to the camera. He's like...
Yeah. There's one shot where he looks like he's actually dying in the scene.
Yeah, it's all of them.
I do want to see that. I don't know what it is, but he's drug-related.
The Mule.
Gun-related. Yeah! Okay.
That's going to be fucking great.
Okay, yeah.
That's
not what this is about.
That's going to be, I think, one of the movies that people remember him for. But anyway, Widows. So Steve McQueen directed this movie. The other movies that Steve McQueen has on his belt are Hunger, which is a really, 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 really bleak movie with Michael Fassbender, where it's about a guy who goes on a hunger strike in prison.
Haven't seen that one.
It's super fucked up. And then his follow-up to that is Shame, also with Michael Fassbender, basically about a sex addict.
Saw that one.
Yeah, that one was really weird. But I still, like, his movies have, like, a certain, like, cinematography to them. Like everything that he directs, he has a really complex meaning to every shot.
Did he do 12 Years a Slave?
He did 12 Years a Slave.
Okay, yeah.
That was his next one after that. He's done a shitload of short films, which I found interesting because in between these big, not necessarily blockbuster movies, but in between these big art house movies he's done several shorts as well. So it's like what I think we have here is like we have a director that really enjoys his craft and he's really in it to make movies and not in it for the money. That's just, I don't know if that's really how he is, but like that's how it seems. I like directors who are directors for their art and their craft and not necessarily putting out garbage just to put out garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Zack Snyder.
Like Zack Snyder.
Oh.
Did you say Zack Snyder also? That's what came to mind also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see that him or
that
Michael
to
Bay.
attack me.
If I could have claws grow, they'd come out. About to get catty in this bitch.
It is.
So, I'm going to go through the star-studded cast real quick before we go into this. Because we have a shitload of people in this. Liam Neeson. Mm-hmm. We have Colin Farrell. We have
Viola Davis. Michelle Rodriguez. John Barenthal.
John Bernthal. Who else? Anyone else that strikes?
Who plays Colin Farrell's dad?
Did not like him.
He is a very iconic actor, but I don't remember.
He just looks exceptionally old in this.
Yeah, let's check it. Let's check it.
That's
let's pull something
unfortunate.
All right, so just so we can name all of the people who are in this. The dad is Tom Mullet, played by Robert Duvall.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that name.
Major actor. And then, Daniel Kaluuya as Jatem Manning.
Hated him specifically.
He was the...
so good in this movie.
He really is.
I think he was my favorite character.
Yeah.
And Paperboy from Atlanta. I don't know his real name.
Is he the guy who plays the actual Manning? Like running for office?
Yeah.
Brian Tyree Henry?
Yeah. Same White Boy Rick.
He was damn good in this, too.
He was in White Boy Rick?
Yeah.
Who the fuck was he?
Yeah, who was he?
He was the cop that first gives White Boy...
Shut up!
No shit.
I didn't make that connection at all.
So, yeah.
You're right.
He's starting to get big off at Atlanta, which is good because he's good in that.
He was way better in White Boy Rick than this.
I haven't watched Atlanta, but he is damn good in this and in White Boy Rick. But anyway, so let's outline... No, all right, I'm getting excited. Let's go into so what are your initial thoughts? So, give me your initial thoughts, Rob. What do you thought?
Well, I mean, coming from a person who didn't want to see this at all because I thought Liam Neeson was barely going to be in it, I was like, fuck this movie. I want more Liam Neeson. I really enjoyed it. And Viola Davis carried the movie so well. I didn't mind that she was the main focal point of this movie. She was great in this movie.
Yeah, that was, I think, for me, that was like the clincher right there. It's like her character could have been awful. She had a lot of weight on her shoulders with this role. There's so many different complex emotions that she has to go through, like the loss of her husband due to what he was doing, the fact that he betrayed her and left her out in the cold.
I loved the shots of her reminiscing with Liam Neeson, and then it would just kind of cut to present time where she realizes she's all alone and she's there by herself. I really like those.
Yeah, like the shot. Well, I'll talk about this a little bit later when I talk about cinematography, because I can't. You need like your own section about cinematography for a Steve McQueen movie, just because like he puts so much care and thought into the shots, and he wants them to have these subliminal meanings. And there's just there's a lot going on.
I definitely am gonna need help on that, because that was a major problem I had, actually.
Really? So maybe a couple of the shots that you might have thought were dumb, I can probably explain.
I would hope so.
I feel like when you really dig a movie like this, you'll notice a lot more that a director's doing. It's almost like hopping on the bandwagon. It's like once they I go to a movie and like I watch like 15, 20 minutes of it, and like I expect to get hooked, and then like eventually when I do get hooked, I start to be able to follow the director, like almost like I'm following them like in a limbo or something. Like I see where they're going with certain things, and like I'm appreciating the movie on so many different levels. It was insane. It was just a great experience for me. But I loved it. The acting was some of the best I've ever seen. I did find plot holes, but very minor ones, kind of things that you can kind of throw away and say, it doesn't matter in the big scheme, the longer scheme of things. But the plot was so detailed and so rich, and they had so many different characters who actually made themselves important enough to the story that when you think about the whole story, it all makes sense, and you remember everything when you're going back into it, and all I want to do is watch the movie again. I might go see it next week again. But what do you think, Sam?
Okay, so first of all, this movie was advertised to be something completely fucking different than what I got. I went in here thinking I was going to watch some badass bitches doing a job, and instead, what I was met with was two dudes seeing who had a bigger dick to rule that certain area in some whatever political bullshit that was going on. I'm like, great, cool, let's try to wrap this all together in some stupid way, which was extra stupid. Everything in this was dumb. I feel like nobody was utilized correctly. Viola Davis was the best part, but I was very upset how in the beginning, I knew everyone was a bad guy from the beginning. I was like, oh, you're gonna beat your wife? Cool, we'll get into that. But I was like, oh, I don't like you. If you're working with him, clearly there's something bad going on. Not gonna ruin anything. This was just stupid. Well, let's get into it. I'll explain why I hate everything while we touch upon it, because there's a lot I didn't like, but I didn't like this whatsoever.
I'm just gonna touch on one thing. I know the trailer made it out to seem something that
completely different.
But it also, they still, it's not that they were weak.
Really, though. I mean, it still portrayed them as hesitant and not really wanting to do the job. I didn't get that feel from the trailer.
Oh, I didn't have a problem with that.
I felt that they were, forced to do the job.
Yeah.
And unwillingly went on the job. That's what I got from it.
And it still went well.
Well, here's the thing. It's we'll talk about the plot, but Viola Davis basically tied all of their hands in it. She implicated them in everything. So it's she was taking that power for herself.
She had no choice.
Well,
she thought her husband was dead. And then these stupid gang members come in and I'm gonna take it from you. And I hate that. I think that's also why this was not made for me, because I'm not into these dudes who think they're bigger and can control everything else purely because they're in a gang, which is entirely what this whole shit was. It'd be like, you steal from the Manning brothers, we're gonna take it back. Fuck you. No. And that's just pretty much all it was. She didn't know the extent of it until things started coming out.
I think
she had nothing.
Is the whole point of it, like in like the big scheme of things, is that both of these presidential races, both of these parties, think that they're the smartest of the bunch, and they build it up to think that really it's about these two warring parties, but it's these wives that screw everything up for them. They take revenge and they get revenge.
I didn't see it that way.
Manning, who is played by Brian Tyree. No,
Manning. Okay, yeah,
sorry. From White Boy Rick.
Yeah, Brian Tyree Henry plays the cop in White Boy Rick. Also, he plays the governor?
Not even. It's so much.
They're just running for some town. That's what was also frustrating. I'm like, y'all are really.
Well, Chicago's huge, so they were like.
It was by what were they calling it?
There's
district.
A lot more
it was by district.
So they were probably like congressmen.
Colin Farrell's house was trying to win it to try to keep control of the housing department, which if they lost control, that would have been it for their family.
Yeah.
And Manning's side is purely coming up from the point of poverty of like, we've never had anything, we're gonna take this, we're gonna become something for ourselves. So it was like,
but they're also
totally
a gang.
race war too. Well, they're also a gang, but it's like, that's an after effect. That's an afterthought.
That bothered me.
But
I was like, I'm supposed to like who am I supposed to like in this situation?
This
racist ass dude? And that's what I don't like. I hated that literally every single person was unlikable in this film.
That's how people. But for me, like, all the characters were so fucking real. Like, for me, like, watching this movie,
they were real. I'll agree
You're
with
only
you
supposed
on
to like the women.
Yeah,
even then,
which is
I was
who.
So fucking annoyed. It was definitely the audience I was with. They ruined a lot.
Yeah, there's some strong hate.
I'm not saying I'm not gonna force you to rewatch this, but I would watch it by yourself again because. I don't know. There's a lot in there that you may have missed. I don't know.
Maybe. I was sitting I think the second I realized this wasn't focused on the widow's mission and it was a lot more focused on this election happening, and then I feel like the connection was mildly forced because I still don't remember how Liam Neeson and Colin Farrell's character even came together. I don't understand how they even know each other.
Liam Neeson's a thief.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Farrell hired him to do a job to steal the Manning's money.
Yeah.
To sabotage their campaign because he's getting worried that they were gonna beat him in the race.
They stole $2 million from a gang.
Yeah.
How are you?
He's a professional.
You have
How do
to
you
understand.
steal $2 million?
You have to understand. This is so commonplace.
From a poor.
This
area.
happens every day. Like this is. I thoroughly believe that in this world. This happens every day.
Oh, no doubt. And I think that's also why I didn't like it. It's a little too real.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so fucking bothered by this being in my face. Because there was a lot of real shit. You know, racism is still a thing. Gang violence is still a thing.
Especially in Chicago.
Yeah. And I feel like it didn't do anything.
But the subtleties at which Steve McQueen directed this film, the subtleties that he, like, the racism isn't like right in your face.
Yeah.
It's implied. It's there. It's like these two parties competing, you know, typical politics stuff, but there's like also the race war in there. Like we hear Robert Duvall continually degrade other races, degrade women, degrade his own son. And then we go to the other side and it's all, it's all anger and it's all politics fueled by anger and suppression, and it's just a shit sandwich basically.
All I focused on was the amount of greed that every single person had.
Yeah.
Every single person was greedy in this, and that's the only thing that stuck out.
But that's what I'm trying to say is like this movie, like Steve McQueen does, is he tries to take a problem and throw it in your face so you're more aware of it. So not necessarily that's going to change anything because we're kind of in a broken society, but all of his movies, they take an issue or like something that's really strong and hard to swallow and make that, and they put it at the forefront. At the forefront. That's why he has like with Shame, it's like it's sex addiction. There are people like real sex addicts who deal with that every day, and it's a real strong subject and it exists. and Hunger, which is about real hunger strike and stuff like that. 12 Years a Slave, which is about slavery. He likes to basically take issues and put as much of an artistic spin on it as he can to try to make more people accessible to it and more people see it.
Right.
But I mean, maybe it's just because that's the films that he wants to make, and maybe it's not about changing the world.
It's just
like
about being like, here it is. This is what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, okay, and?
Yeah.
You gonna do anything else with it? Because it was all I was focused on was the greed. So when someone said something racist, I'm like, we're just gonna leave it at that. Like nothing's gonna be like
Not just
whatever.
greed and grieving and loss.
Yeah.
Betrayal.
And how coping. There's a lot more to it than just greed.
That's all that stood out. Everyone
But
was greedy
greed
at that
caused
point.
all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So to pick up where you left off, like explaining a little bit about the story. So Liam Neeson's hired to do a job with his crime gang, who consists of John Bernthal, who plays Shane in The Walking Dead.
Who's a dick in this?
The other guy named Carlos, who's not as famous as a name. And then there's one other guy who I
Barely touched on.
Yeah.
barely even remember.
Yeah.
John Bernthal beats his wife, the blind actress played by Debbie Pilecki.
She was okay in this.
She was pretty
She
good.
had some funny moments.
I started out hating her character.
I hated her till the very end, but she had her moments. How she got the guns was smart as shit. I was like, all right, I see you.
Elizabeth Debicki played Alice. That was one of the wives. Then we have the lead, Viola Davis, played Veronica, Liam Neeson's wife. And then we have Linda, played by Michelle Rodriguez. And then last but not least, we had Amanda, played by Carrie Coon, who most recently we saw her in the new seasons of Sinner.
And
She's
Fargo.
Awesome. And Fargo, yeah. Yeah, that's the picture on IMDb she's got. And then going into rounding out, so Colin Farrell plays Jack Mulligan, the Democrat running for office, or is it Democrat or Republican?
It's probably Republican.
Probably
Well, no, they're both
Republican.
running for. Actually,
Some town.
I don't think
They didn't really have
say.
a side. It was more of who
Yeah.
was going to be in power at the
Yeah.
end.
So Jack Mulligan's on the white. This is the white
I'm
guy.
assuming
Colin Farrell on
Republican.
the side. His father, Robert Duvall.
He struggled to hide his accent.
He
Couple
did.
times, yeah.
And then we have Brian Tyree Henry, Jamal Manning, and then his assistant, who
Younger
his
brother.
younger brother, Jatem Manning, played by Daniel Kaluuya, who's great in this.
He was completely wasted in this.
I
Completely
disagree.
wasted.
I thought he was the best.
He was a dick. I feel like his death was stupid. I'm like, that's how you're gonna go out? Okay, you're trying to. He's this big tough dude doing all this like rap for me, do it, and then shoots him in the head like, ooh, you're big and tough.
I think your hate's just seeing that.
I'm just so it wasn't
Because it was
what
definitely
it wasn't what it
like
was.
80 to 85% about the women and their stories.
Fucking.
They all had their own like little skills. that
They all
did.
had their weaknesses way too shown though, because like all you saw was Michelle Rodriguez failing at literally everything until she got a driver.
Yeah, but so did
Who
the
was
men
ripped.
too, though. Like so did the men. Like Daniel Kaluuya hit a median and died.
That was so like.
Colin Farrell kept tripping over himself through the entire fucking movie.
I also couldn't tell what his deal was. I'm like, I can't tell if you're bad because of your dad and you need to keep up appearances because that's who you are. Or do you genuinely feel like this? Because even that whole.
No, they said he's only getting into it because of the illegal things he's been doing. He's been like money laundering.
Yeah.
I know.
So he's a bad man himself.
I know, but like. In a different way than like his father. Like, was he actually as racist as his dad? Or
Yeah. Well, I mean, not
both
as.
you both just answered differently.
No,
I don't think he was
not
as
racist as his dad, but he did say racist shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this whole thing was focused on greed. Because even the pastor, when the Manning brothers went to go talk to him, he was in the beginning still on Colin Farrell's side because of money. They were like, we need to stick together, brothers in this shit. And then he took the phone and was like,
yeah, I don't
whatever
know
Colin
about that.
Farrell's brother, his name is like, my brother. And they're like, what the fuck?
I mean, I wouldn't say it focused on greed. That was definitely the underlying tone of the movie.
I think it was more
That's
everybody.
just stuck out to me.
I'm pretty sure
intensely.
the entire theme of everybody in this movie was vulnerability. Everyone.
Yeah.
Every single character in the movie, vulnerability. Jack Mulligan was about to lose his company and knew he was dying. He took real...
Go to jail.
You notice how quickly he got upset when his son said something about him not being around anymore. It upset him a lot.
Yep.
He's vulnerable inherently because he's old. And it's put to the forefront talking about his company and how he's about to lose everything. Colin Farrell is vulnerable because he's in a position where he could go to jail and he's trying to appease his father and he's dealing with all of that shit. And then on the other side, like the gang and the Mannings, they're all vulnerable. They've been vulnerable their whole lives. That's what they're trying to do, is change their lives by trying to seek power by other means. And I know it's shitty, but like that's how they had to do it. And then, of course, all the wives, like they're put in a vulnerable position in the movie after their husbands die, and they're implicated. The rest of them are implicated, and Viola Davis is implicated, and they all have to figure out what the fuck they're gonna do.
My hate got even bigger when they killed the OG driver. The second he was killed, I was like,
yeah.
nope, not sticking with this either. Because it's like,
Boz,
whatever
right?
his name was.
I think it was Boz.
Something like that. It was definitely like a
You
weird...
wanna do this whole, they had to be a gang, whatever, do what they gotta do. But it's like, really? You needed the Notebook that bad? You had to go fucking kill an innocent person in this?
They did.
Well,
That's the entire point. They
No
needed
respect.
that notebook.
Depending on their definition of innocence, I mean, he wasn't innocent.
They knew she had the notebook, though.
Yeah, but he said not to hurt her.
Yeah.
But they knew she had it when they went to the fucking bowling alley and he's stabbing a fucking guy who can't feel his legs in the legs.
Oh, he didn't give a fuck.
That was so fucking dumb.
His entire character was his character. Like,
He was overly
ruthless.
cocky, and I don't like that. I
Yeah,
don't like the character he was. He is someone who I would genuinely punch in the face.
But that's the point.
That's what you're supposed to feel.
Yes. That's
But it's not
That's
enough.
why-
That feeling doesn't make me want to like a movie. That makes me want to shit on it because, like, everyone had their own shitty personalities, and there was no one I could like in this.
Just like real life.
Nope.
This movie, I don't know.
I like to escape from not liking
There
people.
were two
okay?
moments. There were two moments when Daniel Kaluuya, when the younger Manning, when he was driving, and on in the radio during both times there were different racial speeches. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar. I'm not very historically.
He was listening to his brother talk
Right. So he was listening to, but he
at
getting
the debate.
getting powered and fueled on that.
Yeah, he was like,
And-
"We're gonna take it back. This is ours. All this shit."
in that scene where he's celebrating and reveling and listening to his brother and celebrating in the car while he's driving the van with all the money in it, and like his embodiment, like that entire scene is like he's embodying their movement, like he's embodying the struggle and trying to rise to the top, and he ends up getting killed doing that because he was blind to what was really going on. He let everything cloud his judgment. I'm just trying to say
If he
your
wasn't,
view
if
of what is an art
it's
film for
not
me.
going to me. If he wasn't an asshole this whole time, I would have been like sympathetic towards that.
Not supposed to
You're
be
not-
sympathetic.
you're
No,
not
but
supposed to
in no way was I even bothering to think about him or anything about him. Like
Not
that,
supposed
you
to.
think about you explain that, and you're like, wow, that's greatly represented. But like, no, I didn't fucking think about that, and nor do I care now that I know.
That's his rationale behind why he's doing what he's
You weren't on
doing.
board, so you didn't pick up on this when we were watching it.
No,
I don't think.
I didn't pick up
Because
on anything, so I was pissed at this movie.
There was a lot there. But let's go back into the plot, because we kind of skipped over everything. I'm going to kind of speed through this. So in the beginning, Liam Neeson ends up, we find out later, this is what really happens. We're not told this in the beginning. Liam Neeson, he betrays his gang, his crime gang. So
Sets
after
up
they
his
steal the
crew,
money,
yeah.
they set him up. He sets them up with the van, places a dead body in the front. He puts him in the van, sets it up with a propane or hydrogen tank.
Propane, some sort of accelerant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he rigs it to blow up himself.
So when he drives back, he basically has it set up so when the cops shoot the van,
He
can
shot
blow
under the
fire.
door when it opened so
No
that they would
evidence.
shoot at the van.
and
Yeah.
then he shot the propane tank.
No, there was
No,
there's a
no,
button
the-
on a thing.
He
Oh, it's a
didn't.
detonator.
Yeah. He set up a bomb in the van.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
Okay. So he detonated the van.
They had to switch vans. The other one was damaged and they needed a new van
Yeah,
to get
they
away
got
from the cops.
they got in the new van though, but the new van
Yeah.
was a setup van.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but what if the guy didn't get shot?
They
and
would still have gotten in that van.
Yeah, but they would have been less distracted to be like, "Hey, what the fuck's going on? Why are we moving to like?" They literally slowly were going like this because he just kind of controlled the car to inch forward.
I don't know. I'm not catching what you're putting
Yeah,
down.
me neither.
What do you
I don't
mean?
know.
Okay.
I
I feel
didn't-
like if someone wasn't shot and I was trying to get the fuck away as fast as possible, and someone was just like moving this slow in a car, and I wasn't focused on trying to keep someone else in my party alive, I'd be like, "Hey, why aren't we moving?"
I didn't catch
It
that.
was a different van. Completely.
I
Yeah. I don't get
I'm
why
literally
what
lost.
you're. Yeah.
But anyway, so the heist goes off, and Liam Neeson is presumed dead. Viola Davis, we see her living by herself, struggling to cope. There was a great scene where she was in front of a mirror, and you see her emotions like destroy her, and then she builds right back up and puts on a front, and then heads out for the day. She ends up eventually, after she finds this notebook and brings it to a bar to talk to a man who knows her husband, who works at it's a bar and
bowling alley.
Bar bowling alley, yeah.
Yeah, and so he talks to him about it. She tells her to stay away from these gangs. That's how he ended up in the wheelchair. She doesn't listen. She takes the notebook. She ends up keeping the notebook though. She doesn't sell the notebook. Daniel Kaluuya, this is jumping around a bit. Daniel Kaluuya finds out that the guy at the bowling alley has been talking to her. He comes down and ends up knocking him out of his wheelchair and shivving him a bunch, which I thought was super fucked up. He was shivving his legs. He couldn't feel it. It was freaking me out. I know he couldn't feel it. But so he got really fucked up. In the meantime, the 4 wives, 3 of them, Viola Davis,
Linda. Michelle Rodriguez. And then the Elizabeth.
Alice.
Weird last name.
Delecki?
Yeah.
Is your
Delecki.
name Alice in this? Did I hallucinate that?
Alice. Close.
Elizabeth.
I said Alice.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Allison?
Is her name Alice in this?
Oh, yes. So it's Alice. So Alice, Linda, and Viola Davis, who is Veronica.
Veronica.
And then the 4th wife,
He calls her Ronnie,
yes. And then the 4th wife, Amanda,
who's a bitch.
didn't show up immediately, which, initially was like, could be nerves.
The second she was like, "We're still waiting on Amanda. Let's hope we don't need her." I was like, something weird's about Amanda now. And then when it came out, I was like, wonderful. There's the weird thing.
Because I thought
I'm a woman and I think everybody's shifty. So when she's like, "Let's hope we don't need her," I'm like, wow, way to focus on that one woman.
But like out of just out of like personal opinion, like there are 4 wives here that have just lost their husband in a gang-related crime. I mean, I may not be so apt to meet this girl. You know what I mean?
Her,
Like right
the
after that.
4th husband, who can we even say was her husband? If
We
Liam
don't know.
Neeson was having
Yeah,
an
he
affair
was.
with her?
It could have been.
It was.
Like,
So-
in her mind, could Liam Neeson be her husband?
In her mind, maybe.
And that's why they didn't touch on the 4th guy so much, and that's why I was like, all right, we don't need Amanda.
For all we know, that kid could be his.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which would explain a lot more.
Viola Davis. Hello? Viola Davis did like
I think
scream that at him.
it's
when they were
implied
fighting.
that it's supposed to be
So, like,
his.
you went and did you like redo family because whatever they were like? He was like, we couldn't fix us.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shoot you in the face now. Like, great.
because they have a backstory where they had a kid. Viola Davis and Liam Neeson had a kid who
That part
got
was
shot.
well done.
The police.
That was very
Trigger happy cops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very. I don't want to say good because that whole situation's got not good, but that was a good way to shed light continuously on a problem like that is still happening.
It was a kid in the car with the cop pulling him over, fumbles for his phone, cop thinks the gun, shoots, and he's dead.
Yeah.
And
Liam
then
Neeson
shot him like
the whole time.
4 or 5 times too.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Does this movie take place in a different time period than present, by the way? I couldn't figure it out.
I would say it's present.
I think, it's present.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
The stuff with the son happened a little bit prior, but it didn't explain. Oh no, Marcus's headstone said 2009, I believe.
Oh, good catch then. Because
So that's when he died. 2009. So I was like, what the fuck is Marcus? And I'm like, oh, there must be a son because his age is only this much. Like, I literally did math in my head. I'm like, what the fuck is Marcus? I'm like, must be a kid.
Yeah.
Very young. And then they touched on it.
So the 3 wives meet. They end up devising this plan. They're basically they're implicated by the Mannings. The Mannings come over to specifically just the one running for office comes to Viola Davis's house, threatens her, holds up her dog in a really fucked up way. I thought he was gonna snap that dog.
Same.
back.
The whole time I was like, he's gonna hurt that dog, and I'm not here for this. Not here for this.
That would have been fucked up. I'm glad he didn't.
I would have walked out if he did. I'm like, you know what? I'm tapping out of this.
So Viola Davis is implicated, and then she very intelligently implicates all of the other wives by throwing their names under the bus, thus making them a forced team. They have to work
Throwing
together.
their names under the bus, how?
Well, they have to, now that they're implicated, she's going to give the names to them. So it's like
Who?
to the Mannings.
When did she say that?
She told them that.
says that.
Yeah.
She says, you're all helping me here or else they'll have your names and go after you.
Yeah.
I thought they were just going to do that because they went after her because she's Harry's wife, but there was obviously other people involved in stealing his money.
No, they were implicated by Viola Davis. She threatened them.
Yeah.
All right, well, fuck her then, too.
Yeah. Even though the Mannings could have figured out if they wanted to.
Yeah.
She kind of she cemented that plot point. In other words, they decided that probably it wasn't strong enough it wouldn't be strong enough of a decision to help to try to do this heist.
They would be much less willing to help if it was just for the sake of getting the money.
Right.
I thought she went to see if they'd help purely to see if they were as angry about the senseless death, because none of them knew the extent of what their husbands did, because even Alice was like, if I ask, he hits me. Like, no one knew what they did. Like,
Linda did.
Linda knew shifty shit was happening, but I don't think to that extent, because when they were like destroying her store, they were like, I gave him, like, we paid our shit. He was like, well, your husband's doing whatever the fuck else with the money.
Gambling.
I don't think it was, but it wasn't, I don't think she knew to the extent of what they were actually
She knew what
doing.
his job was.
Yeah.
She said several times he got into this life by himself.
Zero of their decision to
her.
help, though. Zero of the decision to help was because of the money. It was all because they were initially they were implicated and threatened, and then eventually it just became a thing. It just became comfortable with them, I guess. I mean, not comfortable, but they're each given tasks by Viola Davis, who, as you confirmed later, you disproved one of my plot holes I thought I found, which with the gun situation, which I didn't understand why Viola Davis asked Alice to go get the guns.
Or the van.
At first, but then I realized it's because she didn't want to be directly implicated or attached to those events.
Yeah.
They didn't know that they were helping her. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, I initially thought that it was a plot hole, because I thought it was like, well, if you know, I thought in my head, like, if you know so much about fucking guns, why don't you get the guns? Because you clearly don't trust this blonde.
She made the blonde white lady go do it.
Yeah.
No one's gonna question her.
Well, not just that, but it's so her name is attached to his little criminal
absolutely. There was
possible.
no doubt in my mind that that's what it was.
That's why she gave them all these tasks.
Yeah, but she gave her specifically the bigger tasks to do.
She did.
She told Linda to be like, figure this blueprint out. And then she's like, you also have to get us ammunitions and not look sketchy and a van.
It might have helped if they put a point in regarding the fact that she was very white.
Yeah.
And that, because like Michelle Rodriguez was like Spanish, obviously. And obviously Viola Davis is black. So it's like going into like an event, like it looks like they were going to like a super white gun show.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Michelle Rodriguez or Viola Davis would have had any luck getting a gun.
No, and I think that's exactly why they had Alice do it.
Yeah.
And I do like that scene where she walked up to that butch lady and was like, "My husband beats me, I'm Russian mail order bride." I was like, fucking smart. Like, she had her moments.
She wasn't.
There was parts of this.
A complete idiot.
No, there was parts of this.
She's probably the best problem solver in the movie.
Broken Russian English.
I did.
She wasn't complete idiot.
I had
Complete idiot,
issues
no.
with her and her mom's dynamic. I really didn't like them, but that's just because I feel bad for people who are genuinely in those situations. Like she was. She's in an abusive relationship. She's still sad that her husband's gone because even though he abused her, that was the only way they lived. She had no money without him. And then the mom's like, "Why don't you become a sugar baby?" And then she was like, "I'm not you, Mom." And then she was like, she made the comment, she was like, "Watch who you're speaking to. Do you remember what house you were in when you were like 15, 16? And then she was like, "Those boys never paid me," or like whatever shit. And I'm like, all right.
Super, like, she clearly just like, she was just been used. Basically. Yeah.
She's like, do I really want to continue to be used? And that's why I was like, okay, I can see why she would want to do this, because even though she's mad, she's upset her husband said she has no money. So when Viola Davis was like, "Y'all get like $2 million a piece," or whatever the fuck she said, $1 million a piece.
She ends up taking
the Mannings get $2 million and then they
split the $3 between them. The other $3 million.
She probably had the biggest character development in the movie. Went from a pretty much useless, abused woman to really figuring out all the problems herself.
Yeah,
she did.
And becoming her own thing.
I really wish Michelle Rodriguez was used a lot better. I feel like she was in it and then she wasn't.
She was the weakest character.
She was, which was super unfortunate.
To
see her in a weaker role like that, I guess.
Yeah, she was like, it seemed like she was going to be... I think maybe it's because maybe he was trying to play off of the stereotype. And whenever like there's a Spanish, someone of like a woman of Spanish descent or a man of Spanish descent in a movie, they're always portrayed as these really like smart and cunning and like bloodthirsty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like a thing to characterize someone. I think that Steve McQueen, whoever was writing this, I don't know who chose the characters and how they were going to kind of react. I don't know if like it was more of a screenplay or if it was based off of someone else's work. But
no, I think in the credits I saw that it was like based on the novel Widow, or there's something like that. This is some things related to a.
Find it.
It was like right when that preview started. I was like, oh, this is a thing.
But do you know what I mean? Like I feel like they were trying to steer away from painting
from that
her in that
stereotype.
Yeah.
They were trying to make. She was more of the weaker. I need to make sure my kids are taken care of first, because the mother of the husband was like, "You're the reason he's dead. I blame you for this." And she was like, "I know nothing of his work. Like, what the fuck do you mean?" And she was like, "He did what he did for you."
Yeah.
And that was super frustrating, because there are parents who are like that. They will always blame the spouses for shit happening to their kids. And it's like, no, he made his own choices to do the things that he did. And it was like super unfortunate. And I think that's also why she was super hesitant. Because she said, she was like, if things go south, like, I want my kids to know I didn't just sit there and take it.
Yeah.
But she still was the more, like, hesitant to do things. And it wasn't even that she was hesitant, it's just that shit didn't work out as well for her as it did for Alice, which was really weird. Like, she had the easiest task, and it ended up in this really awkward scene that was actually really, really sad, and the entire audience I was with laughed at it, and that's also made me upset with it. That super vulnerable scene when she goes to be like, I need to speak with whatever the woman's name was, to the man, and he was like, you don't work for that company, that's my wife, she's been dead for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then she breaks down and is like, oh, my husband died 2 weeks ago. And I feel like the way that was set up was bad, because in a lot of movies, people will say shit like that to be like, oh, forgive my mistake, like something traumatic happened to me too. And it's used in like I'm gonna manipulate this person to get what I want. But in this situation, she genuinely was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. My husband died. I'm trying to just cope, but
That's
he can't.
what I thought was fantastic. Right?
And
I think it originally
that scene
started
for
out
me
as her
was
trying to
super
do that.
painful, But I think because of how that type of scene is utilized in other works,
yeah,
it's used a manipulative piece and not a vulnerable.
You expect
I am breaking down. Yeah, and I think that's why people were laughing, and I'm like, that's not what this scene was about.
Yeah,
because they both started kissing each other, and they were like, oh my god, woo! And it's like she left with nothing.
Yeah,
that happened because they both are missing something they need, and they're not finished coping with their pain, and like the whole audience was like, woohoo, yeah! I'm like, you were missing the whole point of this scene.
On that note, like, I actually do think that her character was quite developed. She had a lot of those scenes that built her character, and by the end of the movie, I knew who she was.
Yeah. I just feel like I didn't see her enough, which is upsetting.
The one they didn't build enough is the one we never really got to meet that was having an affair.
I didn't want to meet her.
I kind of did only because I saw how good she was in The Sinner, but that's just bias.
She just kind of started off weak, I think, because even in like the little flashbacky parts when, baby's crying and she's like, do you want breakfast or whatever? And he's like, I gotta go. Like, she just kind of seemed like someone who was just like part of the background. Like, wasn't anything that
I think
whatever.
That's how the affair happened.
So when they used so when they used her as like part of the big twist, I was like, I'm not interested in you enough to have this affect me.
Yeah, part of the reason why Liam Neeson killed his whole crew might have been also to leave.
It was to escape with her and start his new life.
Start an entire different family.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't save us, Ronnie.
So going back to the blonde girl, after she gets the guns, she ends up taking her mom's advice, goes on the rich person dating site. Ends up going out with that Tom Cruise looking douchebag. Like 5'4".
He looks like Ethan Hawke too.
He looks like Adrian Brody.
All of these
characters. They all had a baby.
They all have douchey faces in a way. But so she meets this guy. He kind of like he seems really. At first he seems like really kind of. Almost like safe and like sweet.
He's giving the whole sweet guy comments like, I'm not like other guys.
Yeah.
I was married once before. I'm just looking for that intimacy. I'm like, bitch,
you
really think sugar baby? I mean, she never did this before. But like, you really think people haven't heard that shit before? Really? But at the same time, she just lost a husband. She also was missing that intimacy plus the money. So
I'm going to address the only part of this movie that I disagreed with and thought was a horrible scene was the transitional scene that Michelle Rodriguez, when she was trying to figure out what those blueprints were for.
Yeah.
So she can't find, she fails, she kisses the guy, she doesn't end up with anything. She's talking to the blonde girl, she's talking to Alice on the train.
Yeah.
And they decide that it's a good idea Alice gets she figured it out. She gets it and figures it out. But the stupid part is the next scene is like when she's with her rich husband or rich boyfriend or whatever. The schematic or like the blueprint is out in broad daylight, but it's an accident. Like she left it out because she's an idiot. But the stupid part is they could have made it.
He's a building
much
developer
better.
though. So did she do it?
I think
by
she
accident?
did it
Did
on
she
purpose.
do it on purpose?
Did she do it on purpose?
Because
I think so. So he'd be like, "Oh, what's this?"
Yeah.
I just
feel like it's weird that he didn't question it as much as he should.
She's playing up her ditzy, dumb role.
Yeah.
Which is how she gets everything done.
I thought it was weird that, though, on the train, that Alice, like, a light bulb didn't pop in Alice's head, and she didn't go, like, say audibly to Michelle, like, hey, let me try something. Let me take a look at that. Maybe I can do something.
I thought she did.
No,
she said I got this, but I mean, she's not going to tell her how because all of their husbands just died. She'd probably be like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, she got her guard up. She
you
doesn't
know what
want
I'm
to be
saying?
judged.
So how well I liked the movie.
Because she's still ashamed of what she's doing.
Yeah. Because at first she was very hesitant. She didn't want to do it. Cause she said to her mom, she's like, I'm not you. Like, I'm not going to do this shit. Like, my husband just died. I have nothing. Like, whatever. So I definitely think that she didn't mention it purely to kind of keep that part to herself. Because I don't think she was proud of the fact that she was doing that.
I know I'm being finicky Mr. Douchebag cinematographer here, but if they just threw in one like extreme close-up single of her face looking out of the train or something right after
Like
that.
where you can tell she's thinking of something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would have sold that for me. That would have put it together because I couldn't figure out, was it an accident? Was it on purpose? I wanted to believe it was on purpose because I liked the fact that she started as dumb and vulnerable, and then she ended up like, oh no, she knows what she's doing.
Right.
She just has to be put in the right scenario to be able to do her work.
I just didn't like how everything worked out because of Alice. Like, she just had all the right things happening in order for this heist to pretty much happen.
Yeah.
That was just kind of like oh, of course.
It was weird but I think what it was is like they wanted to like
the weakest one to have all the power in the end.
Yeah, they wanted to go against they wanted to make the most vulnerable the most powerful.
Ended up being the most resourceful.
Yeah.
I did like that about her. As much as I didn't like this, there was stuff that I did like in it, and that was one of them.
So we get to the heist. Well, let's
Belle is a thing.
Let's talk about a couple scenes before we get into the heist.
Okay.
So their driver Baz, we never mentioned him. So over the course of the movie, Viola Davis is being driven around by the limo driver, who's Liam Neeson's old limo driver, Baz or Boz or whatever his name is.
I think it's Boz.
Boz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I only remember because Baz is just from Animal Kingdom. Show I love.
Amazing.
But Boz, the limo driver, he tells Viola Davis a number of times that she doesn't have to use him. He's worried about his own life at this point.
Yep.
He ends up getting killed by the Mannings.
Yep.
So the Mannings kill him. They trying to get the notebook. We already talked about the bowling alley guy who gets stabbed and they afterwards they have him call Viola Davis, and Viola Davis kind of detects something's up and doesn't give him the time of day. But there's this awesome scene building the gang characters that you probably didn't like. This was like, for me, like everything hit a T for me at this scene.
You're talking about the rap scene?
The rap scene.
Okay.
So a couple of them, there's this really cool...
It was predictable.
I liked the transitional build-up to when they're rapping inside the...
in the box thing? Yeah.
Because like building up, like we just hear their rapping, which is actually quite good.
At first I didn't realize what was going on, and then I was like, wait, did they smuggle people in here? And I'm like, oh no, wait, they were like hiding to work on their raps. Because I heard it, but I couldn't tell if it was like the soundtrack playing and they just put these two smuggled bodies, like, all right, let's go work. I was like, what happened here?
Yeah. So they get caught. And then...
Well, they get let out because those are the guys that let them get robbed.
Yeah.
They were guarding the money.
Yeah.
And they were rapping instead.
Right.
Well, no, they weren't rapping instead. They were rapping because they ambushed them and threw them in a tool shed. Or a toolbox type thing.
Those two were the reason their money
They
was
weren't
taken.
hiding in there. Liam Neeson and his crew put them there and locked them in there.
They did?
Yeah.
Did I miss that part?
Well, it didn't show it.
No, they like
It was
discussed
implied. It was implied.
Yeah.
They were ambushed, money got stolen, and then they were thrown in there.
When
and
they
away.
were talking, they were like, they said something like, you're supposed to be like watching our shit, but you're too busy doing whatever, so let's hear it.
Yeah.
Whatever. They were talking about it. I do remember that part because I was really confused for a moment. I was like, they just smuggled people in.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, they're responsible for shit. But that was another thing. It was like, you're fighting for your people. This is our shit, whatever, but you're also treating your own people like they're disposable. And that was another thing that bothered me. It's like, you're preaching, we need this is ours, this is our time. But I'm also going to kill anybody in my way who tries to take it from me. Another greed thing, and I don't like gang mentality shit.
It's just what it is. I mean, it's you also have to realize, like, the point of the movie is to like put this all on display.
It's not to glamorize it.
Oh no, absolutely, and I think that's another thing. Like, this is the stuff that genuinely makes me upset.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people who look at this like it is being glamorized. They're going to be like, I like these dudes who are gang members, even though they died. Like, you guys are saying how much you loved his character or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's going to be there's always going to be that one person that is just super influenced by what's going on around them. They're going to be like, I want to be just like him or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think this is more to keep it in your face and to be like, this is still happening. This is going on. But there are going to be people who are going to take this as like, oh, I want to be like him. I want to be cool. I want to have the power to, scare people into doing what I want them to do, all that shit.
That's just stupid people.
Oh, I know.
So let's go into this. So we're running a little bit
Absolutely.
behind. So let's running into like this rap scene here.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel Kaluuya is basically, he comes up to Jamal Manning introduces him to the guys who were rapping, and he says, "Oh, you like to rap?" There's this big scene. Is like, "Well, why don't you do it right here? Why don't
Show
you do
me
it for
what
me?
you
Let
got."
me hear you." So they start rapping,
I love
and
this
Daniel
scene.
Kaluuya just like starts bobbing
Literally
his head.
gets
He's like
in
all
his
up in
face.
his
He's like-
face. And that's another thing. I don't like when people get in my bubble.
Try to
it's
rap like that.
Seriously, the first time he did it, he stopped. He's like, no, keep going.
But he was like literally inches from his face. I'm like, I'm so not happy.
They were so nervous, and then they started to get into it, and then he just goes pop, run.
Right in the head.
Cold-blooded.
Right in the head.
But that scene, like for me, like the lighting, the cinematography, the acting,
that was
the writing,
Great.
all hit.
That was
like,
great,
the
yeah.
head. It was so good.
Because he got shot in the head.
He hit a headshot. For the,
It had moments like that, but this just what happened wasn't my type
I just
of
think
movie.
the subject matter is why you didn't like it.
yeah.
It was all well done.
Oh yeah, like it had cool shit happening. There was some like little like one-liners in there that I was like, haha. Russian
I think he was
mail
my
order
favorite
bride.
character in the movie.
Alice.
Piece of shit. I love to hate him, but he played it so perfect.
I think Alice was probably one of the better parts for
His
me.
eyes are just so like
It's haunting.
it is when he's sitting by the graveyard
Yeah.
at the funeral for Liam Neeson in the beginning, just waving.
And he puts his gum on
Oh, that was messed
Musket.
Up, yeah.
a musket because
Fine.
It was kind of funny though because I feel like there's a lot of symbolism in this. Going back,
Yeah.
I know that whatever that statue was has got to be something.
It was
gotta be
probably
something.
some Confederate soldier.
Probably.
I know it's in Chicago, but I don't know.
everywhere's got their place.
So let's speed up and go right into the end here. So Colin
That heist
Farrell.
was shit.
Colin Farrell meets Liam Neeson, who we find out is alive when we go. So two things happen that we need to go in before we go into the end. Liam Neeson meets Colin Farrell on the boat. Colin Farrell talks about how he's still implicated. Blah blah blah. He still needs to win the race. He needs his money
Before what?
The final job.
before the final heist.
Oh, I thought you meant like this was a flashback scene.
No.
I'm like, no, he's dead in this. Sorry, that was me
No.
misinterpreting what you're saying. I was like, before.
So there's
what?
that people need to know.
Yep.
And then there's also when Viola Davis goes over the other fourth wife house and she brings the dog, she stops in front of a door where her dog won't stop barking because Liam Neeson's on the other side. She
And
doesn't
sees
open
his
the
flask.
door.
She saw his flask.
She saw his
there.
flask on the table.
And then she's like, fuck this.
She knew. She knew
Yeah,
at that
she knew
point.
right away.
It's like, your woman's intuition is strong, girl.
And she left without saying bye or anything. She knew.
And then Amanda opened the door, and everyone in the theater was like, I'm like, really? Yeah. Of course he's there.
So the heist goes off. You want to talk about the heist?
It was stupid. There was so much build for this heist that was like 2 seconds long.
That's what I love.
Well, I mean, in
and
reality,
I don't
that's
like
what
that they made it out.
In reality, that's what a heist would have to be. They
Oh,
gotta
I know, but still, it's like these
What's the
even though there was so much going wrong.
what's the babysitter's
they still
name in
made
this?
It out. Belle.
Belle?
Oh, Belle, yeah, Thin
Belle's
Driver.
casing the area. She's making a distraction, so the cops in
'Cause
front of the
she's
place
She was cool.
speed off.
Mm-hmm.
They all get into the house. They use whatever plan they demised to get the security guard's attention, get him out of the way.
Yep.
They see Colin Farrell's father's attendant open the door, and she's like, I'm good. Goes back in the room. They're like, all right, let's go.
She
And
just
then-
closed the door. I was like, because that would happen.
One little funny thing is, as she was putting in the code for the man that she blackmailed,
Oh no!
she put it in.
She goes, it's upside down.
It's upside down. And he's
No.
like, oh shit. They get the money, they're running down, and then the old Mulligan,
Yep.
comes out with a gun.
Yep.
They all drop their weapons, even though they greatly outnumber them, which I thought was a little silly.
Besides Linda.
And then, no, she dropped hers too. She had a second gun.
Oh. And I knew she had another one, but...
Yeah, she got them all Glocks. She shot him with a revolver.
Oh.
So they all drop their guns. He shoots Alice.
Yep.
And then Linda shoots and kills him.
Yep.
Drops dead.
Yep.
Then they race out. They drop. Well, then they get robbed.
By Daniel Kaluuya.
Who's all
For
excited.
long!
Thinks he's getting away. Then Viola Davis, after all this, decides, you know, we've worked too hard for this shit. They run him off the road. He gets fucked up, dies, whatever. They take their money back. Drop Alice off at the hospital.
Yeah.
Linda decides to stay with her.
Yeah. Says her name is Jennifer.
And then pieces out.
Yep, and that was it.
And then it cuts to...
Well, we see Liam Neeson and Viola Davis.
Oh, yeah, then she goes back to the safe house.
Yep.
And Liam Neeson comes out and he goes, it wasn't supposed to be you. You should have just sold the notebook.
Yeah.
But she's like, you literally left me no choice, buddy. And this is where everyone was like, I told you he was gonna show up. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You watched like 2 episodes of Criminal Minds and now you know what the fuck's going on in any sort of heist situation. Sit the fuck down. Everybody in this theater was just the worst.
I think you just had a drunk theater.
They were laughing at parts that weren't supposed to be laughed at. They were reacting like at the end when I will let you continue with their whole interaction. But when the shit went down, that's when the whole obnoxious woo yeah. I was like, there's still stuff happening. Shut the fuck up.
They're too stupid for this.
Oh my god, they were just way too rambunctious.
They had to have been drunk.
Yeah.
It was something.
So Liam Neeson punches her, backhands her. She goes on the ground. Mm-hmm. You see for a moment he ponders what he's gonna do. Then he pulls out a gun, turns around, you hear a gunshot.
And she's the stronger one.
And at that moment you realize she's finally said, fuck this.
Yeah.
She's had enough. She kills him.
How that was shot was really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very, of course she's the one. Because
then
I knew they weren't going to have him make it out of this. There's no way in fucking
And then
hell.
she places the revolver that was used to shoot Mulligan in his hand.
Yeah.
With his fingerprints.
Yep.
Implicating him in the whole thing.
Yep.
So they all get off scot-free, and then it fast forwards to, was it like 3 months later or something?
They
like
didn't
that?
say.
They did.
It was 3 months.
They
It was
did.
3 months.
How the fuck do you know that?
It was right on the bottom.
It said 3 months?
Yeah.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I know this is supposed to represent time has passed, but I didn't know how much. Because it went from like Linda getting her shot back, and then some shit
Yeah.
with Ariel gave money to the salon she was working at and then
Her
dipped
sister.
out with her kids.
Yeah, she gave them money to her sister so her sister can pay off her debt and own the thing.
She went to go spend time with her kids.
And then she leaves with her kids
Her
to start
daughter.
a new life.
Yep.
And then we see Alice go into the diner
Mm-hmm.
with a friend. Now she has her own life, her own job.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see her see Viola Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little bit of a connection there. You see her have her thing. Her friend asks her if she's okay. She's like, yeah, I'm fine. Totally.
There shouldn't be a sequel, though.
No.
There won't be.
There won't be. This wasn't set up to be.
Steve McQueen's
said
not going to do a sequel. And then
All she asked was like, how you been? That's it. But who was the guy that came in?
No, it was just a friend of hers. Just
Yeah.
A random
Oh,
friend.
he was just,
Yeah.
wasn't in there before?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
just a friend.
Which she's like, there's
And
a
I
bag
liked-
of money under the
I
table. I was
liked-
like, we aren't done?
I liked how she asked her at the end, how you been? Because in an earlier scene, she called her a old heartless bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now she shows emotion. And I feel like they had a connection right there.
They're linked by that whole situation. Whether they like it or not, they're linked by their whole lives happen because of each other.
And that's basically how it ends. I felt like that was a really good ending shot, too.
Yeah, I liked it. But let's jump. So there's people for next podcast.
Oh.
So we're running a little long. I know we're really animated about this movie.
Yeah.
But so final thoughts and number grade, Rob.
I'm going to give this one probably like a 9.5. I really wasn't expecting much from it. Went in there not really even wanting to see it. Went to do Evan a favor. And ended up really liking it.
Yeah.
Like, significantly more than I ever expected to like it. So yeah, probably gonna give it like a 9.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 9.5 as well. I went in it not knowing that it was Steve McQueen, and then in the beginning of the movie, which I like that directors are now doing this, because then I get to start kind of meet directors a little bit, because I don't really have time to watch like 2-hour commentaries and stuff like some people do, but so seeing like a little bit of like something at the beginning of a movie is really heartwarming. Yeah, he was good. He was good in his little kind of comedy piece. He was saying thank you for coming to see the movie.
He said it was his passion project, and I felt bad for having negative thoughts about it.
But yeah, I loved this movie so much. I thought the writing was probably the best writing period this year. I don't think anything could be written as well. So many different plot points were tied together in such a great way, where you got
seamlessly, and
you got so much of this political commentary and social commentary, and police warfare. All of these common topics that are currently happening today weren't shoved in our face, but were implicated perfectly in the scenarios, and really painted what was honestly an art piece for me. And like, I don't like saying art piece, because like some movies like the Suspiria remake, people are calling a shitty movie because it's an art piece, because they tried to be too artsy, because the original is really artsy. You can't really Argento out Argento.
Yeah,
but
still interested.
I still see it. But this movie, cinematography, I didn't talk too much about. There were a couple of shots in here I wanted to mention that I didn't mention earlier. A couple I did mention that I won't mention again. The first one being that shot where Mulligan is riding with his campaign manager in the car.
I really needed that explained.
You need that explained.
Really.
So the shot is literally just a pan back and forth, like a dolly back and forth on the hood of this police car, showing like the neighborhood and stuff like that. It's kind of just what it was showing is showing the metaphor that he puts on. There's two things. He was putting on this facade when he's outside of this police car, or outside of this campaign car, but when he's inside this car, you can hear all of his problems, but the only thing that all of these projects see is these black tinted windows and cars, so they don't so on one side, you're not like this neighborhood, these people aren't seeing
the real
they aren't seeing what we're hearing.
They aren't seeing him for the person he is,
right?
And him inside, he's not seeing the people and the project outside for the people they are.
I was just super distracted by the conversation in general. I was just trying to figure out where he was going with it when he was like, "You ever slept with a black guy?" Like a million times. I was like, where are you going with?
That was the more obvious. That was like, if you didn't.
Their driver was
before, this is
black,
race.
so I was like, does that have anything to do with anything?
No. It was literally like a shot that like they explained afterwards by saying like that was like if you didn't get it, this is why this is what the shot's about. It was a little bit in your face, that line, but like
that's why I was so distracted. I was like, where is he going with this?
I think it fit the character though, because I wouldn't like normally assume anyone would say that, but like being someone who's so confused and so just like shocked and by this like political campaign.
Was he using it as like a threat though? As like a, if we don't win this?
No.
Like, I don't understand what that whole conversation was about.
His uncomfortability with black people.
And she also, and I think
so
she
like,
also
why the fuck
seemed
do you need to know if she slept with a black guy or not? Like, I don't understand, because he asked it multiple times. And I was like, why is he aggressively asking? And she was like, you need to get your shit together. I was like, yeah, yell back.
He's trying to figure the Mannings. He's trying to figure them out however he can, and like the fact that he can't figure them out or understand them makes him feel uncomfortable and vulnerable. Again, bringing us back to the same point.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just really weird how some people deal with vulnerability.
There was one other shot I liked a lot, which was the shot where Viola Davis is looking out her window, and there's the rain and everything, and Liam Neeson steps in behind her, and then we cut back to the over-the-shoulder shot, and she's just there by herself.
Yeah.
Very cool. Because like the entire movie, I was like, "Is he really there? Is he really there?" And then at the end of the movie,
when he was actually there,
I'm
like,
"Holy shit!"
It was in our face the whole time.
Yeah,
but it wasn't in the way that he used to be there, and that was a big thing.
So, last thing, acting, phenomenal also.
Yeah.
And Sam.
So as much as I think you guys think I'm probably gonna give this like a 4, I'm not, because it did have some really serious things in it that are very relevant to what's happening with today. I just really don't like that that's everything else that was in it wasn't marketed, and I went in thinking I was gonna get a completely different movie, and I was met with a bunch of shit that I don't like seeing. I don't like these power hungry dudes who are just everyone's killing each other and all this shit. It had good parts. I think the artistic choices for some scenes were great. It was strong and serious in its content. I just really think that the audience I was with was missing a lot of things that I was taking one way and was supposed to be interpreted as serious. They were making it comedic for whatever stupid reason. If you were in that theater that day, you suck. So I think just the general, I went in thinking it was something different. Audience I was with just made this completely not enjoyable for me. But it had its moments, so I think I'd give this probably a 6.5. Purely because of my own personal dislikes. This wasn't made for me, but if you agree with you guys, then check it out.
So I'm going to jump right to closings just because of time. Rob, do you have anything to plug?
No, just the usual, like, rate, subscribe, all that.
Cool. Sam?
Yeah. Leave us your thoughts on shit. I want to know what other people think about stuff. Yeah. Like us. Follow us. Share us. Love us. We love you.
Yeah, guys, if you want to chime in, hit us up on our Facebook page. We're posting a lot of different articles on movies and different movie-related things that are coming out soon that we want your opinion. We want to know what you thought about these movies. So give us a shout out. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course, and SoundCloud, Stitcher. Brutally Honest Reviews, only on the Brutally Honest Network. Soon we're going to have a lot more shows coming up from Hop Top Films in a collaboration. And stay tuned next week for another review. Woo! Have a good week.